The Miami Dolphins are sitting at 1-5, and right now, they've become the laughingstock of the NFL. Every week, the bad news just keeps piling up. And no, this time it's not about Mike McDaniel's job status. The real issue lies on the injury front, and things aren't looking good. Several key players remain stuck on injured reserve, and now we're even hearing reactions to Tua Tagovailoa's post-game comments from Sunday that stirred up a bit of tension inside the locker room. But before we dive deeper into the latest on the Dolphins' chaos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Backhand index pointing left, all right, back to it. Head coach Mike McDaniel spoke to the media on Monday and confirmed that 5 players currently on PUP or IR, including Andrew Meyer, are not expected to return anytime soon. Liam Eichenberg and Andrew Meyer were both eligible to return before Week 5 against Carolina, but neither made it back. Meanwhile, Austin Jackson and James Daniels were eligible to return this past week against the Chargers after being placed on IR early in the season. Still nothing. That means Miami's projected starting right guard and right tackle duo, Daniels and Jackson, have now been out 2 weeks past their eligibility window. The big question now is, are they ever coming back? Daniels went down in Week 1 with a pec injury after already battling an ankle issue. McDaniel originally expressed hope that he could return after the minimum 4 weeks. Well, we're heading into Week 7, and he's still sidelined. The same goes for Austin Jackson. It's unbelievable how this Dolphins offensive line just can't catch a break. Thank goodness Aaron Brewer and Patrick Paul have stayed healthy through 6 weeks, because Miami's depth is hanging by a thread. At least Larry Borom, filling in for Jackson, has shown some improvement lately. After being one of the bottom-tier linemen in the NFL early in the season, he's rebounded nicely over the last 2 weeks against Carolina and the Chargers. In Week 5, Borom posted a strong pass-blocking performance. 0 sacks, just 1 pressure allowed. Sure, the run game was rough. The Dolphins averaged a miserable 1.7 yards per carry, but Borom held his ground. Then in Week 6, he stepped up again, grading among the top performers on the roster with a 78.9 pass-blocking grade and a solid overall mark. He's been one of the few bright spots up front, and it showed when Devon Achane exploded for a career-high rushing performance. That 49-yard touchdown run that finally got Miami on the board? Perfect design by McDaniel, motion, misdirection, and flawless execution. Credit where it's due. That play reminded everyone that, even through the chaos, this offense still has flashes of brilliance. That 49-yard touchdown run was a masterpiece of misdirection. Miami stacked 6 players on the left side, drawing the Chargers' defense in that direction, but the play was designed to go right. The Dolphins pulled Larry Borom, Cole Strange, and Aaron Brewer, sealing the edge perfectly. Suddenly, it was 2 Miami linemen and Devon Achane against 3 Los Angeles defensive backs. 2 blocks later, Achane won the one-on-one and sprinted untouched into the end zone. Give Borom some credit. He's been better lately. But the truth remains, Austin Jackson, when healthy, is on another level. The problem is, he simply can't stay on the field. It's frustrating for fans and devastating for an offense that depends on rhythm and chemistry. Meanwhile, replacing James Daniels has been a revolving door. First Keon Smith, then Daniel Brunskill for a brief stretch, and lately it's been Cole Strange holding down that spot. Strange looked solid against the Jets back in Week 4, but since then, it's been rough. His pass-blocking grades have cratered, allowing multiple pressures week after week, dipping below a 30 grade in consecutive games. Believe it or not, Miami's guard play this season has actually been worse than last year's shaky performance with Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones. Through 6 games, the Dolphins' interior line has been a liability. Whether it's Strange, Smith, Brunskill, or Jonas of AA, the results have been the same. Poor protection, no push in the run game, and missed assignments at critical moments. Jonah, in particular, ranks dead last among qualified guards, 113th out of 113. That's brutal. Against the Chargers, the struggles were obvious again. On a key 3rd down play early in the second half, Jonah was left one-on-one and got beat instantly, leading to an easy sack. Plays like that are drive killers. And look, it's time to face reality. As talented as Austin Jackson is, the Dolphins can't keep waiting for him to stay healthy. He's had bright stretches, including an impressive 2023 season that earned him a 3-year extension. But his injury history stretches far beyond that one good run. He's bounced around positions, left tackle, guard, right tackle, and only recently found stability. Unfortunately, that stability disappears every time he's hurt again. You just can't build a reliable offensive line around a player you can't depend on. The team may need to move on, even though his contract situation makes it complicated. Jackson's deal runs through 2026 and is heavily guaranteed, meaning there's no real cap relief if Miami cuts him. That leaves the Dolphins in a tough spot. The upcoming free agent market isn't much help either. Names like Braden Smith, Jonah Williams, Jermaine Illuminor, and Justin Skule headline the class, but every one of them will come at a steep price, and several will likely re-sign with their current teams. Finding a replacement for Austin Jackson won't be easy, but at this point, it's a move Miami has to seriously consider. All the offensive tackles being discussed here are primarily right tackles, and honestly, every single one of them would be an upgrade for Miami. We've seen flashes from Justin Skule this year after stepping up in Tampa Bay and even starting a few games in Minnesota. He's solid. Then there's Jermaine Illuminor, one of the most underrated linemen in the league right now. Braden Smith and Jonah Williams sit around the middle tier when it comes to performance. Not elite, but steady, reliable, and, most importantly, available. And in Miami, availability itself feels like a luxury. The reality, though, is that signing one of these players won't be easy. There are only a handful of quality right tackles hitting the market, and the demand, plus the price, will be sky high. Most will either stay with their current teams or command deals Miami simply can't justify. That means the Dolphins might have to look elsewhere, maybe through a trade or in the draft. But here's where things get frustrating. Can you really trust Chris Grier to find the right guy? Time and time again, he's failed to land that elite offensive lineman. Sure, there have been some decent picks, like Robert Hunt, and maybe Patrick Paul shows promise. But we've seen enough of Liam Eichenberg, Isaiah Wynn, and others to know this front office just hasn't figured out the formula for building a reliable line. If Miami decides to draft a new right tackle, it can't be under Chris Grier's direction, because history speaks for itself. Now, circling back to the main question, should the Dolphins move on from Austin Jackson? I believe they should. Jackson is a good guy and a respected teammate, but the NFL isn't about good intentions. It's about consistency and durability. And that's where he's fallen short. You can't build an elite offensive line around a player who can't stay on the field. Reliability is everything in the trenches. And right now, Miami just doesn't have that. On the defensive side, there's more to talk about. Tyrel Dodson missed his first game of the year against the Chargers due to a concussion. Coach Mike McDaniel said he's progressing well and could be cleared soon, which would be huge. In Dodson's absence, KJ Britt stepped up alongside Jordan Brooks, who took over the play-calling responsibilities on defense. Britt played nearly every snap, and McDaniel even called his performance phenomenal against the Chargers. Now, to be fair, the Dolphins' defense still allowed 29 points and over 100 rushing yards to Cameron Vidal, so phenomenal might be a stretch, but Britt did his job. He led the team with 13 tackles, showing real effort and awareness in the first half when Miami held the Chargers to just 9 points. According to PFF, Britt isn't the best coverage linebacker, and we already knew that, but in terms of tackling and positioning, he delivered when it mattered. The Dolphins still have major issues to fix, especially in the run defense, which statistically remains one of the worst in the entire NFL. But at least Britt showed some fight, and right now, that's something this defense desperately needs. KJ Britt is a classic downhill, thumping linebacker, physical, aggressive, and built to stop the run. That's his strength. He finished with just a 7.1% missed tackle rate, which shows his consistency when attacking the line of scrimmage. So yes, he played well, but calling his performance phenomenal might have been a bit of a stretch from Mike McDaniel. What's truly frustrating, though, is seeing Willie Gay Jr. barely touch the field. You'd think, given his experience and explosive playmaking ability, he'd get real snaps, especially with the Dolphins' defensive struggles. But somehow he hasn't. It's confusing because back in training camp and during joint practices, every single report out of Miami was glowing. Reporters raved about how Gay was flying around, disrupting plays, and making an impact in coverage and pass rush. We saw flashes of that in preseason. Yet, through 6 games, he's only played 17 defensive snaps. And even in the biggest opportunity for him to step up, he didn't play a single down. What's going on here? It's hard to believe every reporter and scout got it wrong. Gay looked ready to go, and Miami's defense desperately needs a spark. Yet they continue to roll out the same personnel that's been getting gashed week after week. It makes absolutely no sense. This lack of adjustment highlights a growing problem. The Dolphins' coaching staff feels disconnected and stubborn. When your defense ranks near the bottom of the league and you still refuse to make changes, that's not strategy, that's denial. Now, shifting over to Tua Tagovailoa, things took another strange turn. After Sunday's loss, Tua, the team's captain and franchise quarterback, called out his teammates for showing up late to player-led meetings and team activities. His comments shocked the media, fans, and even some former players. To be honest, it wasn't a great look. As a leader, some things are better handled privately. And apparently, Coach McDaniel agreed. Speaking to reporters, McDaniel said that while he didn't think Tua meant any harm, it wasn't the right time or place to say that publicly. So now, you've got your quarterback publicly calling out teammates and your head coach publicly disagreeing with him. That's not a good sign. It's the kind of internal disconnect that screams dysfunction. And that's what Miami looks like right now. A team full of talent, but short on unity. From the front office to the locker room, the communication just isn't there. When your leaders aren't on the same page, it doesn't matter how much talent you have. You're not going anywhere deep in the postseason. Let's call it what it is. The Miami Dolphins are in chaos. From top to bottom, this team feels fractured. They talk like they're unified. They tell the media all the right things, but the truth is written all over the field every Sunday. They're not playing as one. Behind the scenes, something's seriously wrong. The locker room feels tense, and the trust that once held this team together looks shattered. It's hard not to wonder what stories will come out years from now when Mike McDaniel, Chris Grier, and even Tua Tagovailoa are no longer part of the franchise. You just know some of those behind-the-scenes details are going to be wild, maybe even shocking. After Tua's public comments calling out teammates, some of his fellow captains and offensive linemen were asked to respond. Patrick Paul, the young tackle, said it best. "I'm not going to speak on that. That's something that should stay inside the locker room." Aaron Brewer echoed the same message. Handle it internally, not in the media. Even Jordan Brooks, another team captain, simply refused to comment. That says everything you need to know. The locker room doesn't seem united, and the leadership feels uncertain. To be honest, it's hard to keep believing Tua is the unquestioned leader of this team. Leadership isn't about wearing this C on your chest. It's about how you carry yourself when things fall apart. Right now, that symbol of leadership feels empty, and that's what's truly heartbreaking. This team had so much promise, so much talent, and now, by week 7, even diehard fans are exhausted. Think about that. It's barely mid-season, and people are already ready to fast forward to January just to see change. That's how bad things have gotten. Miami's season feels like it's on life support. Unless major changes come, from the coaching staff to the front office, it's hard to imagine this team turning things around. The Dolphins don't just need wins, they need direction, discipline, and unity. Because right now, all they have is dysfunction.